Welcome to the Flippin' Hippos reseller channel. I am Star. If you're new here, you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Help us feed our hungry hippos. Today we're taking a look at what sold on Etsy. I'm not going to do just May or just a particular time frame. We're going to look at the whole year so far. I just started cross-posting and selling on the Etsy platform this year in January. It took about 2 to 3 months to really start seeing sales on Etsy. I did an overview of how my sales are going video that I'll have pop up at the end. If you haven't seen it, you can watch that, where I talked about how long it took to really start seeing regular sales. I'm going to right now, it was really hard to find where to look at solds on Etsy. Sometimes I feel like some of the things on Etsy are more difficult than they need to be. Finding where to look at the sales you have scheduled was a hullabaloo. Signing up for the app was a hullabaloo. I'm sure that I will get used to it over time and look back and go, oh my gosh, this is so easy. I was silly. But I'm new to the app, and I do feel like it's not very self-explanatory or easily self-taught. You can mostly go on any other platform and figure stuff out very easily. If there's an easier way than this, and please let me know in the comments. But what I found out from checking with ChatGPT and finding Reddit threads, I can go to my store and click here where it says my sales, and it will take me to my sales. Now you can see here I have, I guess that averages out to 4.5 stars. I've gotten some pretty good reviews. This one says the item came in a little dirty. That's her opinion. I use a cloth and I clean all my jewelry. So, let's see what this 3-star was. Oh, that one is because it didn't color. It's brown, not red. I think color is subjective, and I really don't like when buyers leave you. I don't like when buyers leave you low feedback based on shipping, which we have no control over. I don't work at the post office. When they leave you feedback based on the size, like saying, well, the size tag says this size, and I always wear this size, but this doesn't fit. Because again, I don't work at the factory, and I don't put the tags on the clothes. All I can do in my listing is tell you what the size the tag says. And I really don't like bad feedback for color. Color is kind of subjective. And just because you think something is more of a shade of brown than red, or crimson red than scarlet red, it just grinds my gears. Anyway. And then she says hers was dirty. I mean, it was cleaned. Okay, Monica. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with my feedback on here. And you're never going to appease all the people all the time. I mean, the amount of feedback I get, most of it is generally good. I have 100% on eBay. I just got one on Poshmark yesterday, speaking of size. They always wear that size in that brand. And this one's different from all of their other shirts, and it's too tight. Well, I didn't put the tag on the shirt, and I gave you measurements too. So maybe you should have compared that to your current shirts. But I digress. Talking about my feedback, you can see we have 36 total sales. Now we're into June, and you're like, Star, it's 6 months, and you've only had 36 sales. It's not that great. I'm going to continue to list on Etsy, and I'm going to continue to try to get more sales. And I'm running discounts, and I'm doing coupons and all the things you should do. I don't think this is ever going to replace my eBay sales. No, this is a supplemental extra stream of income for me. Each sale here makes more money and sells for more money than it does anywhere else. So that's a bonus. It's 5 cents a month to keep my items listed here. The fees are very low. I like Etsy. I don't feel like it's going to be a huge volume seller for me. And it's definitely, eBay is our biggest platform. We sell the most on there. It's globally known. We sell internationally. eBay is mentioned in movies and TV shows and books. People shop on eBay. Etsy has a very specific clientele looking for vintage items. Do I hope to continue to grow on here and sell more? Yes, and I'm going to continue. But remember, in January, I had 1 sale. And in February, I only had 1 sale. I didn't start to really pick up until March when I learned about running the sales and doing the discounts. So if we see that my sales really start to pick up in March and we're like halfway through June, I'm looking basically at March, April, May, 3 months. That's 12 sales a month. That's 3 sales a week for a relatively new platform I'm still learning and building on. That's an extra stream of income. If this was my main source of paying my bills, I would be in trouble, but it's an extra source and I'm good with it. I'm also moving a lot of my older stuff. So that's good. A lot of the older vintage plush that have been sitting around for a while are moving and selling for a good amount. So I did find how to find them on here. I don't know if we can see. Yes. So I have this nifty little extension that I got from my Google Chrome called Etsy Sold Price Revealer. You want to load this into your Google Chrome. If you use Google Chrome and you ever want to comp or check sold prices on Etsy, normally you wouldn't see this right here in the red where it says sold for 22. Normally you would not see that. This extension, you can see it, which is pretty cool. So let's look through. I don't want to pull up every single one like that, but we sold him for 22. Let's do all the plush. The costume jewelry is costume jewelry. I buy it in bulk for about $6 a pound. I have a very specific way that I do price my costume jewelry. I do have a free pricing guide for costume jewelry available. That's in my description box if you want it. But the chances of you finding the same exact pieces of jewelry as me are kind of low. But you can kind of get an idea of where you should be pricing your costume jewelry. So, you know, I sold these cluster earrings, some bangle bracelet, earrings, that tiny little hammer. I'm sorry, that's an axe. Lots of bracelets, pendants, necklaces. This was really neat. This glass pendant. So you can kind of see, and I pulled up some tabs here so we can look at specific. I want to really look at the plush. This one sold for $55. It sold internationally, so they paid like another $30 or $40 for shipping. Crazy. Donald sold for $23. This Oshko white teddy bear, he sold for $38. $30 for the Benton bear. Now, I do have free shipping on Etsy for domestic. So if they're buying it in the United States, it's built into the cost, about $5 per plush. But if they buy internationally, they're going to be paying their shipping. I do not do free international shipping. $23 for Clifford, the big red dog. $16.24 for this bulldog. He's not that great of a brand. I've had him for a very long time. Happy to see him find his new home. $25 for Tasmanian Devil. $20 for K&M International Koala Bear. K&M International is now known as Wild Republic. They're the same brand. They make those realistic looking animals like this koala bear. This is a vintage Babe from the 90s. If you guys remember Babe, the pig, the movie about the pig. This was 20 inches tall and it was meant to be electronic and talk. And I wasn't sure if it worked. I disclosed all of that in the listing and still sold him for a pretty good amount. I mean, he was giant. He was really big. An Applause Killer Well for $20. This is a vintage 1980s Dakin Valentine's Day gorilla. I have had him for so many years. I remember finding him for like $2 way back when, maybe 2018. And I thought, oh, this is the coolest Valentine's Day monkey. He had really long, soft, silky hair, and he actually had attached to one of his hands. He came with a brush to brush his hair. He didn't sell. I mean, he sat on eBay forever. He moved to Florida with us. He moved back to Pennsylvania with us. Then he finally sold on Etsy for $35. I think if I've learned anything, it's to always put your vintage plush on Etsy, because there's people on Etsy who are specifically those types of buyers versus eBay. eBay more your bargain shoppers. They don't want your vintage $55, where'd he go? Yoshi Japan. I mean, there might be some of those buyers on eBay, but Etsy is specifically all vintage buyers. So I sold, this was my first sale ever on Etsy. It was on President's Day. I remember that because it was a day we didn't have shipping and we took the day off, and it was my first Etsy sale. I just remember my first Etsy sale and the day and everything about it. Vintage Oregon Ducks pullover jacket I got from the bulk buy from my friend Jay last year. Sold for $65, and it just basically covered most of my fees for that month. These are the hiking boots for the fur skin Dudley from the 80s. I want to see if I can find you a picture of the actual bear. You guys will remember him once you see him, I'm sure. He was the bear with like the weird ears here, and he had overalls on. There were different ones. Some had these boots, and I had several of the bears plus some of the clothes and the boots floating around, and I decided to list the boots by themselves, and they sold for $25 just for these replacement hiking boots for that bear. If you look closely in the photo, I had those shoes backwards. They should have been flipped, but that's okay. They still sold, but I've got them on the wrong side, like for the wrong feet. And then I wanted to show you, let's put the moose over here at the other plush. $22 for a vintage Rocky from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Nope, this is Bullwinkle. He's the moose. So this is Bullwinkle the moose from the show Rocky and Bullwinkle. The plush itself is from the 1980s. And I want to show you his tag. It's Wallace Berry. And the old vintage tags look like long rectangles that were printed all the way across and folded in half and attached to the animals instead of a front and back. So that's one way you can spot the vintage tags in the wild. And then we have a sweatshirt. This also came from that same bulk buy. I had several of these vintage, I call them old lady sweatshirts with different Christmas and cats, and they've kind of been selling here and there. This one sold on Etsy for $35. So if you have any advice for me how to find my solds more easily on Etsy, I would appreciate it. Any questions, comments about Etsy, reselling, anything, let me know in the comment section. I do respond to everybody, as long as you're not a turd. I'll probably, if I don't start getting more sales on Etsy to make these videos worth, beefy enough to do every month, I am starting to see some more sales on Mercari now. I may do a combined what sold on Etsy and Mercari video. That seems eclectic, though. They're very different platforms, but we'll see what happens next month. Go be productive, guys. Go make some money, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.